I want to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations on whose land I'm carrying out most of the research for CEVAW. My work stream is on legal responses, so we're focused on justice for women and how we can improve legal responses to make them more just for survivors of violence against them. So we've got a whole range of projects underway at the moment, all directed to that same question essentially. So a couple of the ones that are I guess further progressed than others relate to both Indigenous women's experiences at family court and also how judicial officers can assist Indigenous women through the protection order process better, make them feel more well supported in that space. So that first project on the family courts has been very much a ground up project, and so this speaks to the notion that we're basically very community based and Indigenous centred in this. So there was a big question about how Indigenous women are accessing the family court, what's their experience of that after family violence. And so Women's Legal Services Australia, who's a partner of CEVAW, basically came up with this project in discussions with us to look at this experience of Aboriginal women going through the family courts and what's working for them and what's not. And so that's been a really fantastic project right from the beginning, working with our partners, working with an Indigenous reference group all the way through it. They've really been part of it in terms of setting up the questions. They've been with us through analysing the data. We've come back and forth with them about how we've read things and they've kind of given us feedback. And then we've written the report. And that report really is a culmination of that relationship, I think. And basically some of the things that have come out of that have been things like the Indigenous courts are working well, so there's Indigenous lists in some states and territories, and they're really working well for Indigenous women, as are Indigenous family violence liaison officers, so Indigenous people that support Aboriginal people in the family court. But there's not enough of those things, so they're under-resourced, and that's a real problem for a lot of people, especially in the regions, so that's a bit of an issue. There's also the fact that Indigenous women don't really want to be in the family court. They don't understand that it's different from the child protection system. So there's some work to be done in the future, I think, for us as part of this project to try to figure out how to make sure Aboriginal women understand the difference between the child protection system, which is potentially a punitive system which takes their kids away, versus the family law system which potentially can set them up with orders to keep their children safe with them. In relation to the other project around protection orders, that's really a project that's also partner driven, which is through the Australian Association of Women Judges. They've come to us saying they're worried about Aboriginal women in the protection order system. They're often having protection orders made against them. They're often not giving a voice in courts. So what we've been doing in that project is trying to find out from Indigenous people who work with the courts what judges are doing well and how they could do things differently. And that's also had an Indigenous reference group that we've worked closely with throughout the entire project. So in terms of setting it up, we've already discussed some of the potential outcomes of that project, but they may change depending on the results of the project. I've got a couple of PhD students also really who are working with CEVAW, who are focused on justice responses as well. One of the fantastic things that we thought we developed post-Royal Commission in Australia is specialist family violence courts. And one of our PhD students, Alana, is looking at whether they're working and how they're really managing the current structures of courts, which are very adversarial, with that sort of therapeutic, risk-focused, safety-focused aspect of family violence. And so she's really starting out on that research, and that's also supported by our partners, the Australian Association of Women Judges, for example. We have judges involved with that project who are supporting her through that. So that's an exciting one. She's just about to start observing courts in progress and also interviewing lawyers who are appearing before those courts. I have another PhD student, Alamita, who is from Fiji. She's an Indigenous woman from Fiji, and she's working on professional women's experience of Fiji systems, legal systems, and how they deliver justice to professional women in Fiji. And I think that's a really interesting project. Our partner on that particular project is the Fiji women's rights movement, particularly their director, Nalini Singh. And that also has been very much a project in development. When Alameda came on board, she certainly wasn't expecting to talk to professional women in Fiji, didn't know that that was a gap in the research. but it was very clear from Fiji women's rights movement that that was where the gap in the research was. So it's kind of a suitable project for Alameda too. Alameda's a professional woman, she has a law degree. So she's basically going to talk to professional women in Fiji, survey them, talk to them about their experience with accessing the services they need in the wake of family violence experiences. Does the law work for them? Do the services work for them? So that'll be a question of, whether the justice process is working for them in Fiji as well. So that's what we're doing, and I'm hoping that all of these projects flow together to give us a sense of how justice is working in those particular spaces. I have another postdoc, Devalina Dutta from India. She came to work with us just at the beginning of this year. And she's got a history of working with sex workers and advocacy movements in India. And so she's brought that extraordinary experience into the CEVAW team, and we're hoping that next year we'll be running an inquiry into sex workers' experiences of justice as a result of their work. Essentially, we're not looking at whether sex work should be decriminalised or criminalised, we're looking at all the other things that happen with the justice system as a result of their work in that field. So, for example, does family law treat them differently? Does child protection treat them differently? Do police searches look different for those women? So really trying to delve into that experience of other justice processes for sex workers in our communities. And we know they're some of the most marginalised women in our communities, very often experience violence. And we're looking at New Zealand, Thailand and Australia in that project, so working across the Indo-Pacific with that project as well. And one of our partners in that project, who's not a formal partner of CEVAW, I suppose more of a friend of CEVAW, is Southside Justice, and they're based in Victoria, and they do a lot of work with sex workers to help them access the justice processes that they need. And they have a lot of sex workers who come for their services are Indigenous women, and so they've set up an Indigenous reference group at Southside Justice that they're allowing us to have access to work with, to make sure that our research is going to be appropriately carried out in that space as well. So that's a really exciting project. We're hoping that will culminate in a big inquiry next year in July, where we're going to bring out representatives of advocacy groups, all of whom have histories in sex work themselves, but these representatives will be hopefully coming out to present the experience of their particular organisations in relation to the justice issues the people they work with experience. We've set up a group of 5 inquirers for that 2-day inquiry who are going to write a report, and we're hoping that report will be something that we can shop around government and say, these are the issues that sex workers face and these are our suggestions for change. And alongside of that, there's obviously going to be a lot of stories from sex workers that come to the fore from that. So we're hoping that these kinds of testimonies, we're calling them, can be held on our website so that advocacy organisations can access them and use them in their advocacy experiences into the future as well. So it's been a fantastic opportunity to collaborate in a cross-disciplinary way, being part of CEVAW. Both of the PhD students are supervised by criminologists. In the case of Alameda Lekanawa, she's being co-supervised by one of our associate investigators, Kristen Deemer, who's also based at Melbourne Uni. So it's been great to work with her because she obviously brings really different insights to a justice problem to what perhaps a lawyer would bring, so that's been great. I've also been working really closely with Kylie Cripps. So Kylie Cripps is a chief investigator based at Monash, whose areas of expertise I think are more in sociology and Indigenous studies. And so that's been obviously a brilliant lens to bring to the family law work that we've been doing. And Kylie has been involved in the recent publications that are coming out of that, so the more academic publications that are coming out of that, which are likely to be focused on systems abuses in the family law system and misidentification problems in the family law system. So it's been really good to have her insights in that space. Kylie has also been really involved in the Protection Order project as well, and the research fellow who previously worked at CEVAW, Samantha O'Donnell, she and I and Kylie have actually written a paper together as a prelude really to the Protection Order study, really looking at the history of inquiries into Indigenous women's engagements with legal system and made some suggestions about, based on those historic inquiries, about what we really should be thinking about. So yeah, I've been really enjoying the opportunity to work closely with Kylie. We haven't worked together prior to joining CEVAW together, so that's been a fabulous experience from my perspective. All of these projects are focused on justice outcomes for women and how we make processes, legal processes, oriented more towards justice for survivors of violence. So what will be really interesting when these projects all start to finish up is try to find the synergies across these projects, to find out what the common themes are across these projects. And obviously we have to wait for all these projects data to come in to start looking at that. But I think that could be really exciting because these are very diverse areas. And what happens in legal research quite often is that's where it stays. People look at protection orders, they look at family law, they look at criminal justice, you know, they look at particular groups and their experience of things. So what will be great with this is that we'll have a lot of different groups that we've looked at, we'll have a lot of different areas that we've looked at, and what are the synergies and themes. So that will be really exciting because then we can start to think about what are common threads in justice responses that work, and perhaps try to influence those areas that aren't doing it that way to try to push them in that direction more. So that, I think that will be the next step for us. I've been working in violence against women for at least, well, actually since the beginning of my career. My very first job was at a criminal law firm, and I got the refuge women. And any of them that had criminal law problems, they would be referred to our firm and they were flicked over to me. So I would have been in my early 20s when I started looking at violence against women, the issues that face women who've experienced violence. So it's really been something that's been at the forefront of my thinking right since the very beginning of my career. When I moved to Alice Springs to work at the Aboriginal Legal Service there for 4 years, something that was really clear to me was that we were acting for all of these Aboriginal men, and we had all of these resources for the Aboriginal men, Aboriginal field officers, a lens, an Indigenous lens in the service, but there was nothing for Aboriginal women. And so I worked with people to set up a service for Indigenous women in Alice Springs at that time. So it's always kind of been around these questions around violence against women and how women are missing out on just responses. So ever since the early parts of my career, I've been interested in this. So I do think there's a lot of personal stuff that drives this as well. So it's all of those experiences that really form your interests, and those have stuck with me right through my career.